The council chamber floated in the darkness of space, a massive ring of metal and light where the galaxy's most powerful species gathered. Inside, holographic displays showed a small blue planet rotating slowly. Earth. The aliens studied it with hungry eyes. "This world is perfect," said the commander, his insect-like body clicking with excitement. "Water covers most of the surface. The creatures there are soft, weak. They fight among themselves." The general nodded, his scaled head reflecting the blue light from the displays. "My scouts report they have no real weapons. Their ships barely leave their own moon. They will surrender in days." A being made of pure light flickered beside them. The representative spoke in a voice like wind chimes. "We claim this world first. Our fleet is already moving." "No," growled "we saw it first. Earth belongs to us." The commander laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "You both are slow. My swarm launches within the hour." Far away from this argument, Captain stood on the bridge of Vigilance 9, a defense station orbiting Mars. She watched the red planet turn below, but her mind was elsewhere. The deep space sensors had picked up something strange. 3 massive fleets, all heading toward Earth from different directions. "Ma'am, we're getting readings you need to see," said her communications officer. 3 separate groups, each with hundreds of ships. His jaw tightened. She had seen this coming for years. Ever since an alien probe had killed her parents and sister when she was 16, she knew others were out there. She knew they would come eventually. "Send everything to Admiral Shin immediately," she ordered. "And wake up Dr. Park. Tell him it's time." Deep beneath the mountains of Earth, Dr. Park was already awake. He stood in a laboratory filled with machines that hummed with power. He had spent 10 years building weapons that the world didn't know existed, weapons that broke the laws of physics as most people understood them. His assistant ran into the room, breathing hard. "Doctor, the Admiral is calling. They're here." Closed his eyes for a moment. He had hoped this day would never come, but he had prepared for it anyway. "Activate the quantum field generators," he said quietly. "All of them." In the capital city, Admiral Shin sat in the command center, surrounded by screens showing the approaching fleets. She was a small woman with gray hair and steady hands. She had fought in 3 wars before humanity even knew aliens existed. She wasn't afraid. "How long until they reach our outer defenses?" she asked. 6 hours, ma'am," replied the tactical officer. "Good, that gives us time." She opened a channel to every military base on Earth and beyond. "This is Admiral Shin. Execute Protocol Fang. I repeat, execute Protocol Fang." Across the world, bases hidden in mountains, under oceans, and on the dark side of the moon came alive. Soldiers moved to their stations. Pilots climbed into fighters that looked like nothing any enemy had seen before. And Lee, the best pilot in the Reaper Squadron, smiled as he settled into his cockpit. "Finally," he muttered, running through his pre-flight checks, "let's see what these aliens are made of." The 3 alien fleets arrived at Earth's solar system within minutes of each other. They immediately realized their mistake. None of them were alone. The swarm spread out like a dark cloud, their organic ships pulsing with life. The warships formed a tight battle formation, weapons charging. The collective arranged themselves in perfect geometric patterns, their energy bodies blazing bright. For a moment, the 3 fleets simply stared at each other. Then they all received the same message. Admiral Shin's face appeared on every alien screen. She looked calm, almost bored. "You have entered Earth's solar system with hostile intent. You have 24 hours to leave. This is your only warning." On the command ship, the commander shrieked with laughter. "They dare threaten us with what? Their primitive rockets." The general was equally amused. "We will crush them like the insects they are. Prepare to attack." They decided to strike first, thinking their speed would give them the advantage. They surged forward, energy weapons charging to destroy Earth's moon as a demonstration of power. They never reached the moon. Something invisible rippled through space. The in the front line suddenly began to flicker. Their energy forms, which had existed for thousands of years, started to fall apart. They screamed in frequencies that shattered glass on their own ships. Within seconds, the entire front wave of simply ceased to exist. "What was that?" the general roared. "What weapon?" His question was answered when Doctor activated the second wave of quantum disruptors. Space itself began to twist around the fleet. Their shields, which could withstand nuclear explosions, meant nothing. The quantum weapons phased through them as if they weren't there. Ships began breaking apart, their hulls folding in on themselves in ways that shouldn't be possible. The commander watched in horror as both fleets began to die. He ordered his swarm to scatter, to flee, but it was too late. From Earth's moon, hundreds of small fighters launched. They moved impossibly fast, folding space around them. Lee led them straight into the heart of the swarm. "Reaper 1 to all units," he broadcast. "Remember, we're not just defending our home. We're sending a message. Make it count." The Reapers tore through the swarm like bullets through paper. Each fighter carried a quantum bomb. They flew directly into the organic ships, then vanished, folding space to escape just before detonation. The explosions weren't fire or light. They were tiny tears in reality itself, and they consumed everything around them. Captain watched from Vigilance 9 as the battle unfolded. It wasn't really a battle. It was a slaughter. Within 3 hours, all 3 alien fleets were running. More than half their ships were destroyed. The rest fled in terror, broadcasting warnings in every language they knew. "Stay away from Earth. The humans aren't what they seem. They're not prey, they're predators." Admiral Shin stood and straightened her uniform. "Broadcast this message to all retreating ships," she said. "You came to conquer us. You came thinking we were weak. You were wrong. Remember this moment. Remember what happens when you threaten Earth." In his laboratory, Doctor sat down heavily, his hands shaking. He had built weapons that could tear apart space itself. He had used them to kill thousands of beings in seconds. He knew it was necessary, but that didn't make it easier. On Earth's surface, people emerged from shelters to see their sky filled with the burning debris of alien ships. They cheered, they cried, they celebrated. They didn't know yet that this was only the beginning. In the darkness of space, far from Earth, the survivors of the 3 fleets gathered. They sent a message to every species in the galaxy. It was simple and terrifying. "We found Earth. We attacked. We barely escaped. Never go there, never threaten them. The humans are dangerous." And across the galaxy, millions of species heard this message and made a decision. Some chose to heed the warning. Others, foolishly, began to plan their own attacks. And one ancient species, hidden in the shadows, smiled. Everything was going according to plan. 3 months passed since the failed invasion. Earth didn't celebrate for long. Admiral Shin stood before the World Council with a proposal that made many people uncomfortable. "They attacked us once. They will attack again," she said, her voice firm. "We cannot wait here like frightened rabbits. We must show the galaxy what happens when you threaten humanity." "You're talking about war," said one council member. "Offensive war. We just defended ourselves. That's different." Admiral Shin shook her head. "They know where we are now. They know we have powerful weapons. Some will fear us, yes, but others will see us as a threat that must be destroyed before we become stronger. We need to act first." The vote was close, but Admiral Shin won. Earth would hunt down every species that had participated in the invasion, not to destroy them but to send a clear message. Captain was given command of the strike fleet. 3 ships, each carrying enough quantum weapons to level a city. She stood on the bridge of the Vengeance, watching her crew prepare for the journey. Most of them were young, too young to remember a time before they knew aliens existed. "Captain," said her first officer, "some of the crew are asking questions. They want to know if we're the good guys anymore." Thought about her family, dead because aliens thought Earth was unimportant. Tell them we're the survivors. That's all that matters." Meanwhile, Major Hand prepared her ground team for deployment. The Black Arrow unit was special. Every soldier had been selected for their ability to fight in any environment, against any enemy. Herself was small and quick, with scars on her hands from years of combat training. "Listen up," she told her team. "We're not going to these worlds to kill civilians. We're targeting military installations only. We destroy their ability to make war, then we leave. Anyone who kills unnecessarily will answer to me. Understood?" The soldiers nodded. They trusted completely. She had never lost a team member in combat, and she intended to keep it that way. Commander worked in intelligence, deep in a bunker beneath Earth's surface. He spent his days listening to alien communications, learning their languages, understanding their fears. What he heard troubled him. "Admiral," he reported during a secure call, "the three species aren't regrouping. They're actually warning others to stay away from us. But there's something else. I'm picking up encrypted messages in a language I don't recognize. Someone else is watching all of this." "Can you trace it?" Admiral Shin asked. "I'm trying, but whoever they are, they're very good at hiding." The Vengeance arrived at the first target, a colony world. Didn't bomb it from orbit. Instead, she sent Major and her team to the surface. They hit 3 military bases in one night, destroying weapons factories and ship construction facilities. No civilians were harmed. Before they left, his team built a monument in the center of each base. It was a simple stone pillar with words carved in language. "You threatened our home. This is the consequence." The colonists watched in fear as the humans left. They expected death but received only a warning. Word spread quickly. Earth wasn't interested in conquest, but they would not forgive threats. They were next. Their military stations floated in deep space, far from any planets. Fleet appeared without warning, quantum drives allowing them to fold space and arrive instantly. The ships scrambled to defend, but it was useless. Doctor's weapons didn't just destroy the stations. They erased them. One moment they existed, the next they were simply gone, folded into quantum space. One commander survived because his ship was out on patrol. He returned to find nothing but empty space where his base had been. He received a message directly to his personal communicator. "You have a choice," the message said in perfect. "Continue to see humans as enemies and you will end like your base. Or learn to see us as we are, neighbors who want peace but will wage war if forced. Choose wisely." Looked at the empty space where thousands of his people had worked just hours before. He made his choice. He resigned from the military and began speaking publicly, telling others that war with Earth was suicide. They were different. They had no physical bases to destroy. They existed as pure energy, gathering at nexus points in space where radiation was strongest. Doctor, who had studied them for years, suggested an alternative. "We can't kill them with conventional weapons," she explained to Admiral Shin. "But we can make their gathering points uncomfortable. I've developed a radiation frequency that disrupts their energy patterns. It won't kill them, but it will be painful, very painful." "Do it," the Admiral ordered. When they gathered at their sacred nexus points, they found Earth's ships waiting. The ships broadcast special frequency, and the scattered in agony. Their ancient gathering places, used for thousands of years, were now toxic to them. They sent desperate messages to Earth, begging for mercy, promising never to approach human space again. Admiral Shin responded with a single sentence. "Good. Remember this pain the next time you think about attacking someone weaker than you." But not everyone on Earth agreed with these actions. Dr. Park visited one of the colonies after his team had struck. He saw families hiding in their homes, afraid that the humans would return to kill them all. He saw children who would grow up remembering Earth as the monsters who came in the night. "This is wrong," he told Admiral Shin during a heated video call. "We're creating the next generation of people who will hate us. We're proving to the galaxy that we're exactly what they feared." We're proving we can't be bullied, Shin replied coldly. Would you prefer we wait for them to attack again? Would you prefer we show weakness? I prefer we show we're better than them, said. We should defend ourselves, yes, but this campaign of revenge is changing us into something we shouldn't be. The argument spread across Earth. Some people supported Admiral Shin's aggressive strategy. Others agreed with that humanity was losing its soul. The division grew deeper every day. Captain found herself caught in the middle. During a raid on a supply depot, her sensors detected a civilian transport ship trying to flee. Her orders were to destroy any ship leaving the system. But when she saw the transport was full of families, children, elderly trying to escape the violence, she couldn't do it. Captain, orders are to fire, her weapons officer said. I know what the orders are, replied. I'm choosing not to follow them. Let the transport go. When Admiral Shin learned of his decision, she called for a court-martial, stood before a military tribunal and defended her choice. I was ordered to destroy everything, she said. But I joined this military to protect humanity, not to become mass murderers. If we kill innocent families, how are we different from the aliens who killed mine? The tribunal struggled with the decision, was technically guilty of disobeying orders, but many people saw her as a hero for showing mercy. In the end, they gave her a formal reprimand but allowed her to keep her command. The message was clear. Earth would be ruthless but not heartless. Commander finally broke the encryption on those mysterious messages. What he found made his blood run cold. There was a fourth species watching everything, an ancient race called the, and according to the messages he decoded, they had orchestrated the entire invasion. The and had all received anonymous intelligence about Earth, information that made Earth seem like easy prey. They had manipulated all three species into attacking, hoping humanity would be destroyed or weakened. Why would they do this? Admiral Shin asked when briefed her. Because they're afraid of us, replied. According to the files I found that ruled the galaxy once, they were overthrown and nearly destroyed. They've been hiding, rebuilding. They see humanity as a potential threat. They wanted someone else to eliminate us. Where are they now? Shin asked. Pulled up a star map with a single red dot. Watching, waiting, and if I'm reading these communications correctly, planning their next move. The war room fell silent when Commander finished his presentation. Every screen showed evidence of manipulation. Messages sent to the, and, all carefully designed to make Earth look weak and valuable. A perfect target. They played us all, Admiral Shin said quietly. The three species thought they were making their own decisions, but they were pulling the strings the entire time. Doctors studied the biological data had recovered. They are old, very old. According to this, they ruled most of the galaxy 12,000 years ago. They were overthrown by a coalition of younger species who were tired of being controlled. What happened to them after that? Asked Major. They scattered, replied. Went into hiding. Most species thought they were extinct, but they've been rebuilding in secret, waiting for the right moment to return. Captain leaned forward. And they see us as a threat. Why? We're new to all of this. Brought up a graph showing human technological advancement. Look at how fast we've progressed. In less than 300 years, we went from basic flight to quantum weapons that can tear apart space. That took thousands of years to achieve similar technology. They're afraid we'll become too powerful to stop. So they tried to have others destroy us, Doctor said. He had been quiet until now, still angry about Earth's revenge campaign. And when that failed, they'll come themselves, Admiral Shin finished. The question is when. The answer came 3 days later. Every deep space sensor Earth had suddenly detected the same thing. A massive fleet, bigger than the three invasion forces combined, emerged from dark space at the edge of the solar system. They had arrived. Their ships were unlike anything humanity had seen. Ancient, organic-looking vessels that seemed grown rather than built. They didn't broadcast messages or make threats. They simply began moving toward Earth, and as they moved, they fired. The weapons hit Earth's moon first. Not explosions, but beams of energy that made the rock simply disappear. Whole sections of the moon vanished as if they had never existed. The message was clear. They could erase Earth completely if they wanted. All forces to battle stations, Admiral Shin ordered. Activate every defense we have. Send evacuation orders to the coastal cities. On Vigilance 9, Captain watched the fleet approach. There were hundreds of ships, maybe thousands, more than enough to destroy Earth even with all of humanity's quantum weapons firing at once. "We can't win this," her first officer said quietly. "There are too many of them." Gripped her command chair. "Then we make them pay for every meter they advance. Ready all weapons." Doctor worked frantically in his laboratory. He had one option left, something he had hoped never to use: the Singularity Protocol, a weapon that would create a small black hole, temporary but powerful enough to consume an entire fleet. The problem was the side effects. Using it so close to Earth could destabilize the sun. In a worst-case scenario, it might destroy the entire solar system. "We have no choice," Admiral Shin said when he explained the risks. "If we don't use it, they will definitely destroy us. If we do use it, we might destroy ourselves, but might is better than definitely." "Wait," said Doctor. She had been studying the biological data constantly since discovered it. "I found something. They aren't really organic beings anymore. They're partially synthetic. They upgraded themselves with technology that runs on a very specific quantum frequency." "So?" asked Admiral Shin. "So, if we can generate that frequency and disrupt it, we might be able to hurt them without destroying the solar system," explained. "It's not certain, but it's a chance." "How long to build such a weapon?" asked. "If I had a week, maybe, but we have hours at most." "Then we buy you time," Admiral Shin said. She opened channels to every military unit. "This is Admiral Shin. All ships, all fighters, all defense platforms. We're going to meet them before they reach Earth. We probably won't survive, but we're going to give our scientists enough time to find a way to win this. Make every shot count." Lee sat in his fighter, hands steady on the controls. Around him, the Reaper Squadron prepared for launch. They all knew this might be their last flight, but not one of them hesitated. "Reaper 1 to Squadron," he broadcast. "We trained our whole lives for this. Let's show these ancient tyrants what young humans can do." The Earth fleet met the Armada halfway between Earth and Mars. It wasn't even close to a fair fight. The weapons could erase ships with single shots. Their shields absorbed Earth's quantum weapons like rain. But humanity had one advantage they didn't expect. They were willing to die. Led his squadron straight into the heart of the enemy fleet. They activated their quantum bombs and folded space to appear inside ships. Most of the pilots couldn't fold back out in time. They detonated themselves along with the bombs, taking massive enemy vessels with them. Captain rammed Vigilance 9 into a command cruiser. The station's fusion reactor exploded, creating a blast that consumed 3 more enemy ships. Her last words were broadcast across all human frequencies. "This is Captain, tell my story. Tell them we fought until the end." The battle was a massacre. Earth lost 3/4 of its fleet in the first hour, but they gained something precious: time. Doctor and Doctor worked without stopping, building their frequency weapon from modified quantum generators. Major Han led the Black Arrow team on a desperate mission. Using the chaos of the space battle as cover, they infiltrated a damaged ship that had drifted too close to Mars. Their goal was to steal the ship's computer core, which might contain tactical data about the enemy fleet. "We're inside," reported. "This ship is huge, and it's still partially functional." "Grab the core and get out," Admiral Shin ordered. "You have 10 minutes before we lose our window." His team fought through corridors filled with defenders. The ancient aliens were tall and thin, with too many joints in their arms and legs. They fought with energy weapons and moved with disturbing grace. But's team had trained for this. They moved as one unit, covering each other, never stopping. They reached the computer core, a pulsing sphere of crystallized data, grabbed it and ran, her team following. Behind them, the defenders. It was a trap. The ship had drawn them in deliberately. "Leave me," said one of her soldiers, wounded and bleeding. "I'll slow them down." "No one gets left behind," snarled. She threw the soldier over her shoulder and kept running. They made it to their escape shuttle with seconds to spare. The ship exploded behind them, but they had the core. Immediately began extracting data from it. What he found changed everything. The fleet was controlled by a central command ship, hidden at the back of their formation. Every other ship took orders from it. If that command ship was destroyed or disabled, the entire fleet would be thrown into chaos. "It's heavily shielded," reported, "but if we could get someone close enough with a big enough bomb." Everyone looked at Admiral Shin. She was the ranking officer. It should be her decision. But she was also the one person Earth couldn't afford to lose. She was the symbol of human resistance. Before anyone could speak, his voice came through the comms. "I'm still alive out here, and I'm close to that command ship. If you have a plan, now would be the time." Doctor loaded the frequency weapon onto a missile, the most powerful one Earth had left. This should disrupt their quantum systems if it detonates close enough, but someone needs to fly it right to the ship's shields. "I can do that," said simply. "Send me the coordinates." "It's a suicide run," Admiral Shin said. "Yes, ma'am," replied, "but it's for Earth that's worth it." As preparations were made, Doctor made one last discovery. They had a weakness built into their synthetic parts. They were vulnerable to a specific type of radiation, the same type Earth's sun produced naturally. "If we can generate enough of this radiation, we can hurt them," she explained. "But we'd need to convert every power plant on Earth, every ship reactor, everything that produces energy into a radiation emitter. And we'd need to do it in less than an hour." "Then we have multiple plans," Admiral Shin said. "Suicide run, radiation weapon, and if both fail, singularity protocol. One of them has to work." Earth prepared for its last stand. Every person on the planet knew what was coming. Some prayed, some cried, some simply held their families close, but all of them watched the sky, waiting to see if humanity would survive or become just another extinct species that challenged the wrong enemy. Checked his fighter systems one last time. The special missile was loaded, armed, and ready. All he had to do was fly through a fleet of angry ancient aliens and deliver it directly to their command ship. Simple. "Reaper 1, this is command." Admiral Shin's voice came through his helmet. "You don't have to do this. We can find another way." "No, ma'am, we can't," replied. He looked at the image of Earth on his display, small and blue and perfect. "I've been protecting that planet my whole life. Might as well finish the job properly." He launched before anyone could argue further. His fighter folded space, appearing and disappearing across the battlefield like a ghost. Weapons tracked him, fired at where he had been seconds before, but had always been the best pilot in the fleet. He proved it now. On Earth, every power plant began the conversion to Doctor's radiation emitter. Engineers worked without rest, stripping away safety protocols, pushing systems beyond their limits. They had 40 minutes to convert a planet's worth of energy production. It was impossible. They did it anyway. 30% conversion complete, reported. "If we hit 60%, we might have enough power to hurt them." "And if we don't reach 60%? Asked the technician. Didn't answer. She didn't need to. They all knew what would happen if this failed. Major Han gathered her team for one more mission. While Drew's attention and Earth prepared its radiation weapon, she had a different plan. The data from the stolen computer core had revealed something interesting. The command ship wasn't just a command center. It was also a massive power generator that supplied energy to the entire fleet. If we can plant explosives on that generator, explained, we can cascade a failure through their whole power grid. It won't destroy them, but it will cripple them long enough for our other weapons to work. How do we get close enough? One of her soldiers asked. Smiled grimly. The hard way, we're going to board it. They used a captured shuttle, damaged enough to look harmless but functional enough to fly. The command ship's automated defenses ignored it, thinking it was one of their own damaged vessels returning to base. By the time they realized their mistake, his team was already inside. The interior of the command ship was enormous. Corridors stretched for kilometers, filled with ancient technology and crew members. His team moved through the shadows, placing explosive charges on key systems as they went. Every minute they remained inside increased the chance of discovery. They found the main generator deep in the ship's core. It was beautiful in a terrible way, a sphere of pure energy contained by quantum fields. The power flowing through it could supply a city for years, placed her entire supply of explosives around it. Command, this is Black Arrow, she whispered into her communicator. Charges set, we're getting out now. But they weren't getting out. Alarms blared throughout the ship. Soldiers poured into the corridor, cutting off their escape route. His team formed a defensive line, firing at anything that moved. They killed dozens of, but there were always more. We're trapped, one soldier reported. No way back to the shuttle. Looked at the detonator in her hand. If she triggered it now, the explosives would destroy the generator. But her team would die in the blast. If she waited, they might disable the charges before they could detonate. Major, her second-in-command said quietly, we knew this might happen when we volunteered. Do it. Closed her eyes for one moment. Then she pressed the detonator. Nothing happened. A cold voice said. A commander walked into view, tall and terrible. We learned long ago to protect our important systems. Your explosives are disabled. Was getting close to the command ship when he saw the explosion. Not from the generator, but from a much smaller blast. Emergency charges, the kind soldiers used as a last resort. He understood immediately what had happened. Major is dead, he said quietly to himself, along with her whole team. Rage filled him, cold and focused. He stopped dodging, stopped being cautious. He accelerated straight at the command ship, missile armed and ready. On Earth, Doctor watched her readouts in despair. 40% conversion, not enough. We need more time. We don't have more time, Doctor said. He stood beside a large console, his hand hovering over a red button. The Singularity Protocol, their last resort. They will reach Earth's atmosphere in 20 minutes. If I activate this, we might destroy them, but we'll probably destroy ourselves too. Wait, said Commander. He was still analyzing the stolen data core, looking for any advantage. I found something. They didn't always control their fleet through one command ship. They used to have 3 for redundancy, but over thousands of years they got arrogant. They thought one was enough because they never expected to face real resistance. What does that mean? Admiral Shin demanded. It means their command structure is fragile. If we can overwhelm that one command ship with information, flood its systems with data, we might be able to shut down their fleet coordination, even temporarily. Can we do that? Shin asked. I'd need to get a signal directly into their communication network, replied, which means getting close enough to physically connect to one of their ships. Admiral Shin looked around the command center. Most of Earth's fleet was destroyed. Her best soldiers were dead. Her scientists were out of time, and the enemy was minutes from victory. Then I'll do it, she said. I'm taking a fighter to the nearest ship and connecting our systems to theirs. Admiral, you can't, someone protested. I can and I will, Shin cut them off. Prepare your data bomb. Everyone else keep working on that radiation weapon. And Doctor, if we fail, you activate that protocol. Understood. She didn't wait for answers. She ran to the launch bay, suited up, and took the last working fighter Earth had in reserve. As she flew toward the fleet, she thought about her long career, all the battles she had won, all the people she had saved. Maybe this was always how it would end. One last flight, one last mission. She found a damaged cruiser, its shields down, its crew dead or dying. She landed her fighter in its hull breach and made her way to what looked like a communication station. Talked her through the connection process. "You're in," he said, "uploading the data bomb now." The data bomb was simple but devastating. It was every piece of information Earth had ever collected, compressed and repeated billions of times. Historical records, scientific papers, entertainment media, personal messages, everything. Trillions of terabytes of data, all flooding into the network at once. The command ship tried to process it all, tried to filter it, analyze it, make sense of it. But there was too much. Its ancient quantum computers, powerful as they were, couldn't handle the load. The system began to overload. Saw the fleet suddenly go dark. Ships that had been moving in perfect formation now drifted aimlessly. Weapons stopped firing. Shields flickered and failed. "It worked," he breathed. Then he armed his missile and launched it at the now defenseless command ship. The missile flew true. It penetrated the ship's dead shields and detonated inside its core. Doctor's frequency weapon activated, sending waves of disruption through every system. Ships began to shake apart as their quantum components failed. On Earth, the power plants reached 60% conversion just as the frequency weapon hit. Doctor activated them all at once. A beam of radiation, focused and precise, shot from Earth's surface into space. It passed through the fleet like a sword through shadows. The synthetic parts of the biology began to fail. Not instantly, but progressively. The ancient aliens who had ruled the galaxy 12,000 years ago found themselves dying in ships that no longer responded, bodies that no longer worked, weapons that refused to fire. Some tried to retreat, but their ships wouldn't move. Others sent desperate messages, begging for mercy. But Earth wasn't listening anymore. The radiation beam swept through the fleet methodically, crippling every ship, ending every threat. In the command center, Doctor took his hand away from the red button. He wouldn't need to activate the Singularity Protocol after all. Beside him, Doctor collapsed in her chair, exhausted. Commander stared at his screens, hardly believing what he was seeing. The fleet was destroyed. But the cost had been terrible. Captain was dead. Major and her entire team were dead, was missing, probably dead. Thousands of soldiers and civilians had died in the fighting, and Admiral Shin was stranded on a dying enemy ship with no way home. Or so everyone thought. 3 hours later, a signal came from the cruiser where Shin had connected its data bomb. "This is Admiral Shin. I'm alive. Ship is dead, but my fighter still works. Coming home now." When her fighter landed, the entire command center burst into applause. The fleet floated dead in space. Thousands of ships, once powerful and feared, now dark and silent. Earth's remaining forces moved among them carefully, searching for survivors. They found few. The radiation weapon had been too effective. Admiral Shin stood in the command center, looking at reports of the damage. 3/4 of Earth's military was gone. Entire cities had been evacuated. The moon looked like someone had taken bites out of it, and the death count kept rising as rescue teams pulled bodies from destroyed ships and collapsed buildings. "We won," someone said quietly. "Did we?" Shin replied. She thought about Major Han, who had sacrificed herself and her team trying to destroy the command ship's generator. She thought about Captain, who had rammed her station into an enemy vessel. She thought about all the young pilots who had flown into certain death to buy Earth a few more minutes. "Contact from the Galactic Council," Commander reported. "They want to speak with us." The council appeared on the main screen. Representatives from dozens of species, some that Earth had never seen before. They all looked shaken. For the first time in thousands of years, they had been defeated, and it had been done by the species everyone thought was primitive. An elderly alien, one of the species, spoke first. "Humans of Earth, we witnessed your battle. We saw your courage and your power. The Galactic Council wishes to extend an invitation for Earth to join us as a member species." "Under what terms?" Admiral Shin asked coldly. "You would have voting rights, trade agreements, access to galactic technology. In exchange, you would agree to follow Council law and submit to Council jurisdiction." "No," Shin said immediately. "We didn't fight off 4 invasion forces just to bow to a council that stood by and watched. Earth will join no organization that asks us to surrender our independence." The council members looked uncomfortable. The elder spoke again. "Perhaps we could discuss different terms. Earth has proven itself formidable. We would rather have you as allies than enemies." "Then treat us as equals," Shin replied. "Not as children who need your guidance, not as threats that need to be controlled, as equals. When you're ready to do that, we can talk." She ended the transmission before they could respond. Around her, the command center staff looked nervous. They had just insulted the most powerful organization in the galaxy. "That was risky, ma'am," said. "Maybe," Shin admitted. "But we've learned something important. The galaxy respects strength more than politeness. We'll be diplomatic, but we'll never be weak again." 3 weeks later, the first delegation arrived at Earth. Not from the Galactic Council, but from the... They came in unarmed ships, broadcasting messages of peace. Their leader was the commander who had survived Earth's revenge strike and quit the military. "We come to apologize," said when he met with human representatives. "Dr. Park was chosen to lead Earth's negotiation team. We attacked your world based on lies. We caused death and suffering. The government wishes to make amends." "What kind of amends?" asked. "Reparations, technology sharing, cultural exchange, and a formal treaty promising that no will ever threaten Earth again." Studied the alien carefully, seemed sincere but had learned to be cautious. "Why should we trust you?" "Because we have nothing to gain by lying," replied. "You destroyed our military capacity in hours. You defeated the something no species has done in recorded history. We don't seek your trust out of kindness. We seek it out of survival. The galaxy is changing, and we want to be on the right side of that change." Similar delegations came from the end. Each brought gifts, offered treaties, begged for forgiveness. Earth accepted their apologies but remained wary. Doctor led the studies of each species, looking for weaknesses in case they ever attacked again. "Are we becoming paranoid?" she asked Doctor one day in the laboratory. "No," replied. "We're being realistic. The galaxy is dangerous. We've learned that the hard way." "But at what cost?" wondered. "Is dead, and her team are dead. Thousands of others died. And for what? So we can live in fear, always preparing for the next war." Had no answer to that. 6 months after the defeat, Earth held a memorial service. A massive wall was built in the center of the capital city. On it were carved the names of everyone who had died defending humanity. Thousands of names. Too many names. Admiral Shin stood before the wall during the dedication ceremony. She had aged in the past months, the stress of command showing on her face. She spoke to the gathered crowd, her voice carrying across the silent plaza. "These people died so that we could live," she said. "They died believing that Earth was worth saving, that humanity was worth preserving. We honor them not just by remembering their names, but by living lives worthy of their sacrifice." She paused, looking at the wall. Somewhere on it was Major Hand's name, and captains, and all the Reaper pilots who had flown into certain death. "The galaxy knows us now," Shin continued. "They know we can fight, they know we can win, but I hope they also learn that we can show mercy, that we can be reasoned with, that we prefer peace but will wage war if forced." A small figure approached the memorial. It was a child, no more than 7 years old, holding flowers. She placed them at the base of the wall, then looked up at Admiral Shin with wide eyes. "My father died on the Vengeance," the child said, "with Captain." Shin knelt down to the child's level. "Your father was a hero, they all were." "Will there be more wars?" the child asked. Shin wanted to lie, to tell the child that everything would be peaceful now. But she had never lied to her soldiers, and she wouldn't lie to this child. "Maybe," she said honestly, "but if there are, we'll be ready, and we'll always remember what we're fighting for." The child nodded solemnly, then walked back to her mother. Shin stood and turned away from the memorial. She had work to do. 1 year after the defeat, something unexpected happened. Lee returned to Earth. Everyone had assumed he died in the final battle. His fighter had been destroyed by debris from the exploding command ship, but he had ejected at the last second and drifted in space for days in his emergency suit. A patrol found him, nearly dead from oxygen deprivation, and saved his life. "They could have let me die," said when he was debriefed. "But they didn't." Himself ordered his ships to search for human survivors. "They found 3 of us, 3 out of thousands." "Did they treat you well?" asked. "They treated us like heroes," replied, still seeming amazed. "They said we fought with honor, that we showed them what true warriors looked like." This news changed something in Earth's relationship with the. If even former enemies could show mercy, perhaps peace was possible after all. 2 years after the defeat, the Galactic Council tried again to contact Earth. This time, they offered a different proposal. Not membership, but partnership. Earth would remain independent but would have observer status at council meetings. They would be consulted on major decisions. They would have trade rights and diplomatic relations without surrendering sovereignty. Admiral Shin, now promoted to Earth's first galactic ambassador, negotiated the terms carefully. She insisted on clauses protecting Earth's independence and preventing future attacks. The Council agreed to everything. They had no choice. Earth had proven it could survive without them. They needed Earth more than Earth needed them. 3 years after the defeat, Dr. Park retired from weapons research. He began working on peaceful applications of quantum technology instead. Clean energy, faster communication, medical treatments. He hoped that future generations would remember humanity for more than just its ability to wage war. Doctor established the first joint human-alien research facility. Scientists from a dozen species worked together, sharing knowledge, building understanding. It was a small start, but it gave her hope. Commander became head of Earth's intelligence agency. He made sure humanity would never be surprised by an enemy again. He built networks across the galaxy, gathering information, watching for threats. Some called him paranoid. He called it prudent. Admiral Shin spent her days negotiating with aliens, building alliances and working to ensure Earth's security. She never married, never had children. Earth was her family, and she devoted her life to protecting it. 5 years after the defeat, the first alien tourists visited Earth. They came carefully, respectfully, eager to see the of the species that had changed the galaxy. They bought souvenirs, took pictures, and left with stories to tell. Some humans were uncomfortable with this. They remembered the attacks, the death, the terror, but others saw opportunity. If aliens wanted to visit Earth, wanted to learn from humanity, that meant peace was possible. On the anniversary of the defeat, hundreds of alien dignitaries gathered at Earth's memorial wall. They brought flowers, gifts, and formal apologies. The representatives spoke for all of them. "We came here once as conquerors. We return as friends. We attacked thinking you were weak. We learned you are strong. But more important, we learned you can be merciful. You defeated us, but you didn't destroy us. You could have ended our species, but you chose to give us a chance to change. For that, the galaxy thanks you." Doctor stood in the crowd, watching the ceremony with his daughter beside him. She was young, born after the war, and knew peace as normal. She tugged on his hand. "Father, will they ever attack us again?" she asked. Knelt beside her, looking into her innocent eyes. He thought about all the death he had caused with his weapons, all the choices he had made, all the pain and suffering. "No, sweetie," he said finally. "They learned what we always knew. Humans protect what they love, and nothing in the universe is more dangerous than someone protecting their home." His daughter smiled and turned back to watch the ceremony. Around them, humans and aliens stood together, not as conquerors and conquered, but as neighbors learning to coexist. Earth's flag flew above the memorial, surrounded by flags from dozens of other species. It wasn't surrender. It wasn't submission. It was recognition. Humanity had earned its place among the stars not through conquest, but through courage. Not through cruelty, but through strength tempered with wisdom. The galaxy had wanted to conquer Earth. Now they came to learn from it. And somewhere in space, on a distant world, young humans trained to be pilots and soldiers. They trained not because war was certain, but because peace must always be defended. They trained remembering the names on that wall, remembering Captain, remembering Major Han, remembering all those who died so that humanity could survive. They trained knowing that Earth had faced its darkest hour and emerged victorious. Not because humans were stronger or smarter or more advanced than other species, but because when faced with extinction, humanity had chosen to fight back with everything they had. The galaxy would never forget that lesson. And neither would Earth.